Game of Thrones show set 100 years before the original series, starring Peter Claffey, an Irish rugby player turned actor, and so far, it feels a whole lot like A Knight's Tale, and I am fully on board after watching the first episode. In 1998 and 2010, George R. R. Martin wrote 3 connected novellas telling the stories of Dunk and Egg, and the first of those novellas is The Hedge Knight. The stories are what this show will be conveying, with Dunk as our titular Hedge Knight. The show opens with him as a squire with his master, Sir Arlen of Pennytree, passing away, and him stepping into his shoes. Something that's important to understand with this show is in Westeros what a hedge knight actually is. Most of the knights in this world have a home. They're serving a master. That master has a keep or a castle. That is what they serve. Hedge knights do not own land. They simply wander around, sometimes sleeping under hedges, hence the name. Dunk is an example of one of these knights, and he is lowborn. You might think that this makes hedge knights lesser, but what it also means is they are not tied to some wealthy landowner. They can go around joining causes as they see fit, essentially as a mercenary. They're in charge of their own fate. They can choose causes that they deem to be just and therefore shape the world as they see fit. They also can use tournaments to kind of gain notoriety, fame, money, etc. First episode of this show sees Dunk setting his sights on a tournament where he hopes to compete. Also sees him meeting Egg, a young boy played by Dexter Soul Ansel. Something I loved about the first episode is that the tone of this show feels unique. I think Game of Thrones is a sometimes very funny drama. I think this is going to be a comedy that is often dramatic. See the way that hedge knights are looked down upon. Dunk is kind of the butt of a lot of jokes, including from Egg himself, was a very big personality. Music here is very unique as well, kind of feeling a little bit like a western, which I think is fitting as we kind of watch this solo warrior try to navigate this harsh world on his own. One thing I will say about the show is do not let the tone so far fool you, because if you know your history of Westeros, you understand how truly important this story actually is. You're wondering why they chose to tell this particular story and you want to be surprised, I think don't dig into it too deeply and you will come to understand the reason. I think it's impossible to watch this story and not think about A Knight's Tale. But to me, that is not a negative. This is a film I've talked about on here before. This may be the movie I've watched the most times in my life. I absolutely love it, and I think of this as kind of a formative movie in helping me fall in love with the art form. I think it's one of the great underdog stories we've ever gotten. I think it's a beautiful adaptation of Chaucer himself, who in a very meta way is worked into the film. Love a lot of these actors. I love history, literature, underdog stories. This was right up my alley, and it's something I will always love. So I think Lara Fraser's Kate is one of my first crushes in film or television. I think Will really dropped the ball here, pursuing Jocelyn instead. All jokes aside, I love this film so much, which was yet another testament to the unimaginable talent of Heath Ledger, rest in peace. All this to say, if you love a good underdog, you want to smile a little bit, learn a little bit of Westerosi history, I think you should be watching A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms.